Welcome, everyone. Today we will be taking a journey back in time. We will explore a history fact which is not very well known. Let's discover the untold tale of the Great Chinese Famine. We dive into a critical chapter of world history, a catastrophic event that had profound global implications, a story of ambition, missteps, and a tragedy that reshaped a nation. This is the story of the Great Chinese Famine. To understand this tale, we need to travel back to China in the late 1950s. Picture a country on the brink of change. The Chinese Communist Party, under the leadership of Chairman Mao Zedong, was in full swing, embarking on an ambitious plan known as the Great Leap Forward. The goal? To catapult China from an agrarian society into an industrial titan competing with the Western world. This era was marked by a sense of optimism and national pride, as China sought to break free from the shackles of its past. The government encouraged massive communal farming and launched large-scale industrial projects. But beneath the surface, the country was grappling with the teething problems of rapid industrialization. There were issues of mismanagement, lack of technical expertise, and unrealistic production targets. With a vision to transform China into an industrial powerhouse, the stage for our story is set. The Great Leap Forward, a policy of audacious ambition, was about to change the face of China. Initiated in the late 1950s by Chairman Mao Zedong, the Great Leap Forward was an ambitious plan aimed at catapulting China into an industrial powerhouse, rivaling Western economies. At the core of this policy was a radical transformation of agricultural practices, shifting from traditional farming to large-scale communal farming. Coupled with this was a push for rapid industrialization, with rural peasants encouraged to set up backyard steel furnaces. The idea was to boost both agricultural and industrial output simultaneously, creating a self-sustaining economy. It was a plan filled with optimism, a dream of a prosperous, self-reliant China. But as is often the case with dreams, reality proved to be a harsh wake-up call. As we will see, these policies would have unintended consequences, leading the country into a disastrous famine. The land of plenty was soon to become a land of scarcity. The Great Leap Forward, intended to be a revolutionary stride towards prosperity, was instead paving a path to disaster. The missteps were numerous and tragic. The government, consumed by grand visions of industrial prowess, overlooked the essential sustenance of their people. Agricultural practices were forcefully transformed, with unrealistic production targets set. The land was strained beyond its capacity, and the yields fell drastically short of the ambitious goals. Mismanagement added fuel to the fire. The grain that was harvested was often poorly stored, leading to massive spoilage. Simultaneously, the state's procurement of grain remained high, leaving little for the farmers themselves. The stage was set for an unprecedented crisis. The very policies meant to feed China's burgeoning population were instead leading them into a catastrophic famine. And so, amidst these critical errors, China began its descent into the worst famine in history. The years that followed were a period of unimaginable suffering. As the Great Leap Forward's ambitious policies faltered, the descent into famine began, rapidly deteriorating into one of the most devastating man-made disasters in history. The scale of the famine was staggering. It is estimated that anywhere between 20 million to a horrifyingly possible 45 million individuals lost their lives in the span of just 4 years. These figures are not just statistics. They were fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors. They were people whose lives were abruptly stolen by a famine that was as ruthless as it was preventable. Let's take a moment to humanize these statistics with personal stories that echo the experiences of millions. Wang Bing, a farmer from Henan province, recalled the haunting sight of his once thriving fields now barren and lifeless. His family was forced to eat tree bark and roots just to survive. He lost his youngest daughter to starvation. Or consider the story of Li Shuang, a young woman from Anhui province. She recounted how her village was reduced to a ghost town, its inhabitants either dead or fled in search of food. Li herself survived by foraging for wild plants and insects. These are but a fraction of the countless stories of suffering that unfolded across China during these famine years. Each one is a chilling testament to the human cost of misguided policies and unrealistic production targets. Yet in the face of such hardship, the resilience of the Chinese people was tested to the limits. Amidst the suffering and despair, there were stories of courage, survival, and an indomitable spirit that refused to be broken. Parents went to unimaginable lengths to feed their children. Communities banded together, sharing what little they had. In the face of such hardship, the people of China endured, their resilience tested to the limits. Their stories, a testament to human spirit, serve as a stark reminder of the tragic cost of the famine years, forever etched in the annals of history. As the people suffered, the government remained silent. A chilling truth of the Great Chinese Famine was the widespread suppression of information. As millions starved, the Chinese government, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, maintained a facade of prosperity, even exporting grain to other countries to bolster their image. The world largely remained oblivious to the catastrophe unfurling within China's borders. The government's stranglehold on information was so effective that the true scale of the crisis was obscured not only from international view, but also from the people of China itself. The state-controlled media painted a picture of abundance, even as families starved in their homes. This censorship extended beyond the borders of China. International journalists were tightly controlled and restricted to certain areas, ensuring they saw only what the government wanted them to see. This manipulation of information created a veil of silence around the famine, a silence that still lingers in some aspects today. Thus, the true extent of the crisis remained hidden from the world. The scars of the famine still remain, visible in the nation's memory. The aftermath of the Great Chinese Famine was a time of deep reflection and transformative change. For those who survived the bitter years, the struggle to heal and rebuild was monumental. The trauma of lost loved ones, of hunger and desperation left indelible marks on a generation. China's policies, too, underwent significant shifts. The government learned harsh lessons about the importance of agricultural sustainability and the perils of overreaching ambition. The central planning that had once seemed so promising had led to disaster, prompting a shift towards more pragmatic policies, a blend of central control with market elements. The famine also underscored the critical role of accurate information and transparency in governance. The suppression of the truth had only exacerbated the crisis, a lesson that resonates even today. From the ashes of the famine, China rose, forever changed by its past. The Great Chinese Famine, a tale of tragedy and resilience, serves as a stark reminder of our past. This harrowing period, marked by missteps and suppression, underscores the human cost of ambition unchecked by pragmatism. As we reflect on this chapter of history, let it serve as a lesson for the future. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Until we meet again, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, history is our greatest teacher.